Okay, that's cool.
Welcome to the On Your Left podcast, brought to you by Trails of Mississippi, your ultimate guide to the thrilling world of trail running, hiking, and mountain biking. Join your host, Matt Clem, as we explore breathtaking trails, conquer challenging peaks, and dive into the adventures that await in the great outdoors. Get ready to lace up, gear up, and get inspired. Adventure is just around the corner. On your left.
All right, here we go. Episode 18. Is that correct, Daniel? Very nice. Very nice. It's a Monday morning. We haven't done a morning. So today's Columbus Day. I didn't know that. Happy Columbus Day to you too, sir. My son, Major, has been on fall break, it seems like now, for a year. Is your youngest one, are they on fall break?
No, Ruby doesn't have fall break, but she does have today off.
Well, we've had fall break for 2 weeks, and now they're out of school again. I'm like, when are you getting out of my house? He's like, so anyway, yeah, it's a Monday morning, but we wanted to get Liza on, and studio time is at a premium. So, really excited about today's program because we're going to be introducing a new segment. I think every couple of months, I would like to bring a coach on just to kind of talk about coaching things, because I like to come on here and act like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, Daniel. I just don't. But before we get started, I wanted to recap a couple of things. What I've been doing, this weekend I've been watching or tracking the Moab 240. Last episode we had John Brower on, remember, and he did the Moab. Well, I'm tracking it now, and I'll be honest with you, that's a race I would never want to do, because you were on like another planet. It's like Mars, and so you're running through the red clay desert in Moab, but it's raining. So it's like raining on these guys the whole time. So they're just out there suffering. So I've been tracking that, a couple of people that I follow. Also, since we've been on, we've had a couple of previous guests that have finished some of their races, and I wanted to come on real quick. A couple episodes ago, we had Cooper Fulton and PK, Peter Kazari, came on right there, second from the left. That's Cooper. He just finished the Arkansas Traveler. So kudos to Cooper. He finished. PK did not finish. I need to reach out to PK. I don't know what happened there. But he did not, I don't know if he even signed up. I know he signed up, but I don't know if he started or what, but he didn't finish. But Cooper did. So Cooper got his Arkansas Traveler. That his 600th miler, I think. So kudos to Cooper. And then also we had the ladies from Mutts on several episodes ago. And one of the ladies that was on was Tiffany Green, T Green, who has crewed for so many people over the years. She helped crew me and Helen on my first 100-miler over 10 years ago. And Tiffany just ran her first 100-miler. Good for her. And she ran in like 23 hours. So that's Tiffany. She ran the Hennepin 100 up in Illinois. Liza, are you familiar with the Hennepin 100?
The Hennepin, I haven't ever run it, but
okay.
A number of folks who have, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Tiffany ran that. Good for her. We never thought she would run 100, but she did. It's not really her thing, but she went out there and she ran it and she did it pretty well. So anyway, so there we go. This week we've got Liza Howard. Liza is a longtime ultra running, elite ultra runner and running coach. She works with Sharman Ultra, which is it's a big group, a lot of professional coaches that coach various athletes for different distances. Liza's been with them for a long time. Full disclosure, I have been using Liza off and on for 7 or 8 years for different events that I've trained for. And we really have had a lot of success. And Liza coaches a lot of people locally, and she's really great. She's legit, and she's awesome, not just in dialing up the distances for you, but also there's so many things that are involved that we'll get into when it comes to training for some of these things. And she's been such a big help. Also, she is the executive director of an organization based in Texas called Band of Runners, which honestly I had heard about it for years, but I never really dived off into it because of my own things. But when I started doing some research on it, really is pretty cool what she does and what they do out there. So, um, with all that being said, let's bring Liza on. How are you doing?
I am good. The parent teacher conferences this morning. They like my kid, so it's
Well,
all
that's
so
that's
far
always
things
good.
are great.
They didn't like call you in for a special extra session
No, no, no.
to
Yeah,
discuss other
yeah, yeah.
options.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
well, that's good. That's good. So thinking about having coaches come on. I mean, right now we're in the middle of it's fall, people are starting to dial up different races. It seems like, especially in the South, it might be the same way in Texas where you are. You're in San Antonio, correct?
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of your trail races really start dialing themselves up around the fall and in the winter, which y I like to call it 100-mile season, although, out west, you've had 100-milers going on throughout the summer, um, but around here, especially in the eastern part of the country, it seems to be that they're starting to dial in now. So, with that being said, a lot of people are looking at dipping their toe into it, just like we saw Tiffany just ran her first one, and a lot of people do it. Some people do it just off the cuff and just, "Oh, well, I'm gonna do what this person did, I'm gonna do what that person did," but there's a lot more to it than just signing up and doing some training mileage. Uh, so let's walk us through, I guess, well, first, real quick, how long have you been coaching?
Probably professionally since 2012-ish, maybe a little bit earlier than that.
Okay.
So for a good while now. Yeah. But then
So yeah,
like working with friends and things like that for a couple of years before that for sure.
hmm. So if anybody's thinking about doing so you coach more than just 100 milers, obviously.
Hmm.
You have clients that you have, and they're training for all different kinds of events. But when most people like ring up Sharman Ultra, which is the company you work with, there's multiple coaches. What are people thinking about doing?
I think that for sure that most of the folks are looking to do an ultra, and so kind of 50K and above. But that said, there are some folks who are, maybe looking to get into it slowly, and so maybe they're just starting out, and so training for 5K, half marathon, marathon type distances as well, kind of along the road towards maybe doing an ultra.
Mm, hmm. Well, when it comes to training for an ultra, there's more to it than just dialing up distance.
Mhm.
There's a lot of preparation when it comes to problem solving, right? Because what do we do whether it's coming to nutrition or whether it's foot care or, every little thing because you're out there for so much longer. What are some things I guess you and I had kinda talked briefly beforehand, like, what are some things that really are the main focuses when it comes to, dialing up a 100 miler or just an ultra?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that in general, if you're fit enough to cover marathon distance, then you're fit enough to cover the 100-mile distance, right? Not that you can, but like the fitness is there, right? And so then it's all those other pieces that you're talking about, where it's like, okay, well, great. So how are you going to actually fuel yourself for 24, 30, 40 hours, right? Or more during this, and figuring out how you want to do that, what's going to work in your stomach, and then training that. Like that's another aspect to ultra running, that's different from marathoning and shorter distances. Then yeah, and then like you said, so the stomach is a huge stumbling block for people when they're trying to do 100-mile races, and then their feet can be a huge stumbling block, so to speak, right? And so learning how to, like, what kind of shoes you need to have, what kind of socks you need to have, how you need to tend to your feet so that blisters don't shut your race down, right? So there's those two aspects of it. And then another huge aspect is the environment, right? Because you're in it for so long. And so, like, how do you keep yourself cool when it's 80, 90 degrees and it's like 90% humidity? Like, how does that work so that you don't get heat exhausted in that and have your race shut down because of that? Or alternatively, so how do you stay warm well, when you're doing a race, especially, let's say, like if you live somewhere where temperatures are kind of moderate, like where you live, right, in Mississippi. So, how do you keep yourself warm and dry in a cold environment? Like in a cold, rainy environment, how are you going to do that? And so figuring the gear aspects out. And then, yeah, like, how are you going to carry all of that? And so practicing with like a hydration pack and figuring all those things out, and trekking poles. And so there are all these other aspects that make completing 100-mile distance so much more kind of involved and fun than just the running fitness.
Would you agree that a lot of people who don't finish these races isn't necessarily because of a lack of fitness, it's because of a lack of awareness and not getting ahead of the problems? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Whether it
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that those, I mean, because most of the races, hundreds that are out there, require around like an 18-minute per mile pace to complete the race. Obviously there are some that are faster, and there are some that are slower, but around that 18-minute per mile pace, which is a walking pace, right?
Mhm.
And so it's usually not the fitness, it's all these other aspects that come into play. And then there's also this huge mental aspect to continuing on for hour after hour after hour when things are hard. And so that mental aspect as well is a challenge.
One of the things so let me ask this question, and I don't think this is just exclusive to you guys, but I've seen it in other a lot of times when people approach the idea of doing an event like this, there's always the question of why. Why is that question asked? I mean, because I remember one of the first time well, no, I think the most current event that we're signed up for, you had asked me, "Well, why?" And is that common to ask a lot of your clients that? I've seen it in other I think other coaches have done that as well. There always seems to be, "Well, why do you wanna do that?" Why does that question come up?
Because it's really important that, like, if it's solely about, if doing this event is solely about running, and seeing what your body can do physically, then if things fall apart and you don't have some sort of some other reason for finishing, you won't finish, right? Like if I can't run fast anymore, or the way that I intended to run, right, and that's fallen apart, and maybe that happens at my like 32 of a
Mhm.
100-mile event. If there's not some other reason that you're bothering to do this besides how you can run, right? Then you won't finish. And so if the goal is finishing, then there has to be some other reason to continue on. And if there's not, then you should do shorter races. Like, don't do these. Like, half marathons are awesome. Marathons are great. Concentrate on that. If the reason that you're doing this distance is to kind of see what only physically you can get out of your body, then do something shorter. You save yourself a lot of time. Um, and so that's why we talk about the why. And I think too, like if it is like, I just want to actually, like, my goal is to see how fast I can do this thing. And if it falls apart, then I'm going to stop. Well, then it's good to know that going in, right? That it doesn't become some sort of like fraught drama of like, no, this was the plan. Like, I'm only interested in this. And so it's just supremely important to understand why you're going about doing this thing, because it takes so much of your time to train for it, and you're taking so much away from like the time that you could be spending with your family or your job or whatever, right? And so there has to be a good reason to dedicate that amount of time and effort to something.
It needs to be more than it needs to be for more than just, looking cool on Instagram.
Yeah, do that at a half marathon. So much more time efficient. Heck, do it at a 5K.
Well, I will say this, I think one of the benefits for me for having a coach, having you, is to help me well, I guess, how can I put this? To really categorize what I need to be doing and when I need to be doing it, and doing it as efficiently as possible because, you wanna have a plan and, each little thing needs to have I mean, I like the accountability too. I mean, it makes me I feel like if I don't do it, Liza's gonna be mad, although I know you're not, but still, I don't want to disappoint. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to disappoint themselves. I think we all wanna live up and we wanna be proud of ourselves, but when we have other people that are watching and that are, I guess, telling us what to do, you wanna make sure you're kinda doing what they're asking you to do, so, but also being able to do it in an efficient manner and making sure that it makes sense. Um, yeah, I mean, if I wrote a training plan, I'd probably be doing a lot of unnecessary things or so.
Yeah, I think like yeah, you've hit on the reasons that people tend to work with coaches. I mean, I think that that having accountability, something that's going to help you get out the door and train consistently, like that's a reason for all of us. I have a coach right now for that reason. Like it's useful, and if that's something that's going to be helpful to you, then you should do that thing. um, and rather than just like beat yourself up about like not getting out the door or not doing what you think you should do, like if it's like having somebody who's going to be looking and asking you why, to explain yourself, like then set yourself up for success in that way. But I think that the other huge aspect that you point at, that you point to is that like when you can work with somebody who like this is what they do, and so they understand like how to help you prevent getting injured, then that's a huge piece. So if we can do like just what we need to do so that you can meet the goals that you have and not do more and risk injury, or know how to back off so that like if you are starting to have aches and pains, how to back off quickly and appropriately so that it doesn't turn into something that's going to keep you from training. Because yeah, it's like going out and being consistent day over day, day after day is the key to being successful, right?
Did we have a question, Daniel?
Yeah, Liza, I think this is kind of geared towards you. I'll put it up on the screen here. Um, it says, "Is it okay that I'm doing these just to feel like there is more to life? I often want to know that I'm more than just my family's ATM or feeling like I have a purpose."
Heck yeah. I mean, I think the wonderful thing about ultra running and trail running is the community, right? Like, that's one of the reasons that we started Band of Runners, to bring people, like, to create this kind of on ramp for military veterans and their surviving family members into the trail running community, because it's been so important in our lives. And so I think that doing these long events where you get to be with a group of people who are kind of struggling mightily with you, that you're going on this adventure. Like, I think that that's a really wonderful reason to do these.
I think the sense of community is for trail running, trail running over the last 10 years has just totally exploded. And I think everybody wants to be a part of something. And, you have these different organizations, whether it's Mississippi Ultra Trail Society or Band of Runners, and you have all these other groups that are just popping up, and people just they love it. And but doing these longer distances on trails, I mean, I know for me personally, it's been such a big sacrifice for my family, and I know it's difficult. It can be difficult for my wife, and kudos to her. I mean, God bless Brooke. She's been there for me for so long, and would she prefer that I'm there every Saturday morning and that I'm not dragging her through the woods in rural Alabama here and there? And yeah, she would much rather not be doing that, I'm sure. But at the same time, I think she just sees what kind of joy it brings to me. And so, it is kind of it's a balancing act. And that's part of having a coach is how do we balance, life and then training. And I remember one of the working with Liza, like, okay, well, what do you have going on with your life right now? What's your work schedule? Do you have certain days that we can, put this in? Do we want to do one long day or do a couple of shorter, medium sized days to kind of help make up for the time? Yeah.
I mean, that's the fun part about the thing that I like as a coach is working with people who have challenging lives outside of running and making it, they want to do this thing. And then how do we do this if they only have like this little bit amount of time and it has to be like these hours and these certain days and they're traveling for work or like they've got, responsibilities with their families and how are we going to make it happen? That makes it a really fun puzzle to play around with, like the 20-year-old who's kind of underemployed and has all the time in the world to run around the mountains. Like there's no challenge there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because you and I are both close, same age, and we're aging up, and it just becomes more difficult. Although I think I can see kind of the light because professionally for me, I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm actually starting to have a little bit more free time. Do you see that as we get older? Are we gonna is the trail gonna be littered with a bunch of retired people?
Hopefully not littered.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully not littered.
I mean, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, it just seems like I don't know, it's just such a great place to be. I
Yeah.
would love yeah.
And I mean, I think that trail running is a sport that is affordable in many regards, but also like, yeah, we do have more disposable income right now
Mhm.
than we've have had in past, right? Like, so it is easier to be able to kind of go to a lot of places away from where we're living to race.
Okay. Alright, before we start talking about Band of Runners, because I really do wanna dive into that, what you've started over there, and I think it's fantastic. Alright, can we have a coach's tip? Can we talk about one specific thing? Is there anything you would like to talk about when it comes to ultra running? What are some things that we need to pay attention to? I think Eliza is an absolute just top-notch master expert on foot care, which helped me out so much. Daniel, when I ran my first 100 miler, it was a crime scene, my feet. When we got done, Brooke took me to the local MEA right outside of Gainesville, Florida, and the the doctor looked at me, he was like, "What are you doing?" My feet were so I had blisters on my feet so bad and, could have been prevented, but I mean, at the time, I didn't know. So later several years later, when I used Liza for, I think I used Liza for Pinhoti, um, I was able to manage the foot care, and it was a game changer for me. There's so many other things, whether it's nutrition. Liza, is there any one particular thing that you really try to hone in on when it comes to training for these ultras?
Well, when I'll address the foot care, I think that it's really useful to carry a really really tiny little blister kit with you at all times. So like super tiny, like smaller than a snack bag Ziploc that has a piece of KT tape, some tincture of benzoin, like a little itty bitty pair of scissors, and an alcohol prep pad. So super tiny, you can shove it anywhere, like even a shorts pocket. And then so that if anything starts to bother you with your feet, that you're in a position to just sit down on the side of the trail, take your shoe and sock off, and tend to it. Like put a piece of tape over the top of that, and so that it doesn't develop into a blister. And I think that that is. I mean, I think blisters are so hard because it's not like when you start to develop one, it's not that bad. I'll take care of this later. I'll just wait a little bit, and then we all know that by the time like it actually develops, it can just be debilitating.
Mm.
So many people that I know and that I've worked with have dropped because of kind of destroyed feet, like you're describing, or having to have recover for a long time, having finished with those kind of feet. And so I think that um, being really rigorous about prevention and just having the stuff with you to just deal with it in the moment, and actually taking that time to do it, is huge. You know, so one, setting yourself up for that success that way. The second piece I would say is that it's so fun to see what a lot of really fast racers are doing, like how they're training, what they're eating, the gear they're using. And I think that with nutrition, it's really easy to kind of get swept away in what you're seeing other people doing. And I think that it's real important to understand that as far as calorie intake goes, there's a lot that can work for you. And so you're seeing right now the pendulum swinging to people taking in, 300, 400, 500, 600 more calories an hour. And a lot of people feeling like, oh, they're doing that and they're successful, so I need to do that. And that's just not the case. Like, people have been very successful on less than that previously, like far faster than probably any of us have been successful down at this end of the spectrum. And so really taking the time during training to kind of figure out what's going to work. And so that if you want to try like the 500, 600 calories an hour, like, you got to do that in training. And if you're not willing to do that, to not expect it to work during a race. And just to know that, like, it might not work for you. And so you're trying to figure out, like, what is the thing, like, where on that spectrum do you fall, and that's going to actually work for you. So, yeah.
I think I know when we're training for these ultras, you're having, it takes a lot of grit. I mean, you're having to put in the work. There's a lot of time on your feet, time under tension, and, we're tough, right? So I think a common mistake, I know for myself, is you get out there and you're like, oh, my foot's rubbing a little bit. Oh, I'll be okay. I just need to keep moving. Because, people are like, always like, just keep moving, one foot in front of the other, just keep going. And, and you kind of, it'll be all right. That kind of, no, if you get a hot spot on your foot and if you're doing anything longer than, say, a 50K, right? I don't know. I think for me, anything longer than 50, you better stop and you better address it, because it's going to come back to really haunt you. And it can become really debilitating. And just like you said, a lot of people will drop because they ignored the early stages of foot issues, right?
Yeah, and I think you hit on a really good point. It's like the thing that makes us successful, like being able to endure and keep going when we're uncomfortable, is the thing that sets us up for failure as well, right? Like, so, like, not take, like, it's not that bad, this foot discomfort. Oh, I'm not that hot, I won't, put the ice scarf on. Oh, I'm not that cold, I won't stop and, like, get my jacket out. And so, like, what makes us good also sets us up for failure. And so we have to, like, change the mindset so that we're really rigorous about self-care.
Well,
Like,
we're stubborn as hell.
what's that?
We're stubborn as hell.
Right. Like, and this is where we can't be. And this is especially true, like you say, for 100-mile races, like above 50.
Mhm.
So 100K, 100-mile, but also the more as people get into these 200+ mile races, that it becomes exponentially more important, the self-care, that if you make the mistake of ignoring it early on, you will not be able to finish. Like, you cannot recover from your feet being destroyed, you getting hypothermic, you becoming heat exhausted,
That's why I think women do so much better, because we're just dumb. Men are just dumb. I mean, we're stubborn and we're just, I think that's just why women just do so much better at these things. So,
I think there's less pressure sometimes to, yeah, there's less pressure as far as, like, not ignoring something, and more a willingness to take the preventative care. I think you're right.
what is trench foot?
So with trench foot, so basically when you have a foot that's in water for a lot, kind of like 4 or 5 hours, and it gets really pruny, that's called immersion foot. And so when you're actually walking on that foot that's been wet and pruny, that's trench foot, right? And so named after World War I, with the men in the trenches in the water all the time. And so you get, not only do you get the problem that you have with immersion foot, where, like, reduced blood flow to that tissue there that can become excruciatingly painful, now you're also adding trauma on as you're walking on that.
So how how do we fix that on the fly?
So, one thing that you can do if you know that your feet are going to be wet during most of a race, right? Initially, what you can do is you can start and put some sort of barrier on your feet. Like I really like Desitin, the baby butt cream.
Mhm.
It's a barrier, right? And also it's got zinc oxide in there, which is a desiccant, so it dries things up. So you can go ahead and put a really thin little layer of Desitin on your feet and put your socks on, and then when you're coming to aid stations, right, like reapplying that, and then also changing socks. So in a 100-mile race, maybe you're changing socks every 20 miles, every 25 miles, even though they're going to get wet again, is one thing that you can go ahead and do.
Okay. Calorie intake, real quick, and we'll wrap up this section of it. Calorie intake, it's really about what you train with, what you're familiar with, right? Whatever, don't do anything brand new race day kind of. So you want to train for how you're going to run the race, but for you yourself, how do you usually consume your calories on ultra distances? Are you a gel person, or do you mix it up, or?
Well, I've been racing now for like 20 years or so, and so it's
Mhm.
changed over time. So like what worked initially stopped working, and then the fix for that stopped working. You know what I mean? Like so, you find things as you go along, and you use them until they stop working. And so right now, I do a lot of I'm back to gels. And just drinking water with maybe some electrolytes in there. For a while, I mixed all my calories in with my hydration, and that worked really well. And I think, like you're saying, like you just got to figure it out and try a bunch of different stuff. And once you find something that seems like it's working when you're doing your long runs, try some other stuff so that you have a plan B and a plan C. And the counsel to, like, not try something new on race day. Yes, but if what you're doing isn't working, right?
Mhm.
Then maybe you try something at the aid station table, because basically anything that sits in your stomach is right, And so yeah, like you want to try a bunch of different things to see what will sit in there, and yeah, that's it.
Hmm. All right, let's talk about Band of Runners. I when did you start this organization?
Well, so I'll tell you our origin story. I was out for a run, and I was listening to a fellow on a podcast where all good information comes from. And he was talking about an organization that he had started to support military veterans who were coming back from war and not being able to connect with reconnect into their communities very well, and using trail running as a means to facilitate that. And so he had started a group called Team RWB. And so I contacted him. I was looking for an excuse to stop my run and take a so I sat down and I contacted him and said, I'm a trail runner. I'm a military brat. I would love to, help out. And he was like, great. How do you want to help out? I was like, what about a trail running camp? And he said, that sounds great. Make it happen. And so that was back in 2012. And so I just basically called all my friends and said, hey, what about helping me put on this trail running camp where we can share our expertise with military veterans and their surviving family members, our expertise about trail running in the trail running community? And everybody said, yeah, that sounds great. Because, as runners, we're always looking for a way to make our running useful, as it feels very selfish. And so we did that with RWB for 5 years. We put on their annual trail running camp. And then they decided they wanted to do a bunch of different trainings in their annual camp. And we were like, that is awesome, but we're trail runners. So
Mhm.
what if we just concentrate on trail running and you send us people? And so that was how Band of Runners started. And they said, that's a great idea.
R
Um,
RWB is acronym for what? What
Red,
is
white, and blue.
red, white, and blue? Okay.
Yep. And so yeah, so we're a nonprofit. Everybody is volunteer, and we put on this annual trail running camp, and we teach the ins and outs of all things trail running. And so we have folks who are coming to us, and it's entirely free, to vets and their surviving family members, active duty as well. We put it on the Texas Hill Country, and we teach anything from kind of like, hey, running on trails, to folks who maybe have never run on trails before, certainly not the kind of fun technical stuff we have down here in the hill country, to folks maybe who have done, who are runners, who are active runners, but only on the road. And so we're bringing them onto the trails and kind of everywhere in between, right? And so we have folks who like are just hiking, and we have folks who are quite speedy. Yeah. So
When
that's,
are you having this camp?
I'm sorry, what was that, Matt?
When is the camp again?
It's always right around Veterans Day weekend. So this year it's the 7th, 8th, and 9th of November. So it's right around November 11th always. Just depends
Okay.
how the holiday falls.
So it's a long weekend you have.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating because it seems like a lot of these organizations are popping up that are helping people, whether it's with PTSD, also full we've talked about this, but I'm in recovery myself. So I think you have groups of people that, for me, trail running or just running in general, I mean, it really started back when I was just running, was a way for me to kind of cope with different stresses and to help me feel good about myself, because I think I've had a history of, you know, going back when I was a kid where I lack some of these things. And so you're seeing more and more people with certain issues that are starting to throw themselves more into different things like trail running or, triathlon or whatever. And you're seeing a lot of organizations that are dealing with veterans because of the PTSD, a lot of recovering addicts and whatnot. So, but you guys are getting you're getting a pretty big following of veterans, right? To help them cope with, is it more of just a community thing, or are they actually coping with some of the issues that they've developed?
I think that, as you described, Matt, like we all know that running, running in nature and this community is useful to our mental health, right? And has changed and transformed our lives. And so with the camp, our goal is to share the ability to run in nature safely, train effectively, to be a member of this community, like provide that on ramp, knowing that, yeah, it's definitely going to have that effect on their lives as well, right? And so we don't explicitly try to address mental health issues during the camp. We're not mental health care professionals. And we make that quite clear,
Mhm.
at the camp. But yeah, like fundamentally, we know like this thing that has been, powerfully good in our lives, and it is likely to be powerfully good in your lives as well. And so that's why we're sharing it in this way.
Well, that's awesome. How many folks do you guys usually have show up for this?
We usually have about 50 folks come in for camp from all over the United States. And then we'll usually have on the runs about a kind of one coach to 3 or 4 runner ratio. And so this year, like kind of total, we'll have probably about 85 people at camp, both coaches and participants. And that's usually, we try to keep it, you know, small enough that it doesn't feel overwhelming, and to keep a ratio that's kind of like, hey, if you if you were to go out on a run with your friends and you're on trails and you're talking, you can kind of talk to 3 or 4 people. And so being able to share a bunch of the information during the running that we're doing, we focus on that. So we don't want it too big, so it doesn't feel like some kind of, I don't know, mass gathering, right? But we do want to reach as many people as we can, but then, and so keeping that ratio of coach to participant real high.
Have you guys franchised this? Thought
No,
about it? Like maybe
no,
other
no.
locations?
I think
No?
like we think a lot about just that idea, like small acts matter, right?
Mhm.
And so we have the capacity, like most all of us have, a job or 2 or 3, right?
Mhm.
And family responsibilities. And we this is the capacity we have. Like, we put on this annual trail running camp, and then in addition to that, like, we also meet up at races, right? And so we'll either captain an aid station at races where people then can, will support Band of Runners folks, but also we'll gather and reconnect there at these races. And so we have that going on. And then this last year, we also started a coaching program. So for the people who come to trail camp, they get 6 months of free coaching that people donate. Various coaches in the U.S. donate, and they get trained up for a race. We've been doing a lot of Scotty Coomer's races. The Badger Trail Series race is a wonderful race for kind of gathering and for a bunch of different distances that folks can be successful at. And so we've been doing that.
Shout out to 10 Junk Miles. Daniel is a fantastic running podcast called 10 Junk Miles, but half the time they're not even talking about running. you could be listening, next thing you know, you're talking about like what his favorite album is or something. Yeah, he's great. Well, and that's so when is Veterans Day? Is that next month?
November 11th.
Okay, I don't even know when damn Columbus Day is. So I mean, yeah, okay. All right. So next month. All right, and that is in San Antonio. Well, is right outside San Antonio, right?
This year we're actually in Austin, and so we usually do it in the Hill Country area. So yeah, this year we're closer to Austin, or we're in Austin.
Terry Black's barbecue, Daniel. We could do a road trip. That'd be awesome. All right. Well, okay. So we have put a link in.
Great.
To the show notes for Band of Runners. You guys, obviously, you would like anybody, a veteran, family veteran, if you would like to participate. Obviously, we've got the link there. Also, these things aren't free. They're free for participants,
right.
but they cost. I mean, there's cost involved. So if anybody would like to donate, whether financially or maybe if you guys need help with volunteers or whatnot, there's a link there that you could reach out to at least take a look at it. It's definitely worth taking a look at. I looked at some of the videos, and you guys did a great job with the website, and I really was inspired with it. I thought it was fantastic. I immediately started thinking, well, what could be done locally here, something similar to that. We have a couple of organizations locally that have really done great things with the trail community. One of them is Mississippi Ultra Trail Society. They have done just a great job over the last 10 years or so. But I don't think there's anybody that actually does camps. So if anybody out there has got an idea and wants something else to do, there's definitely a model out there that you could follow. Band of Runners is fantastic. So I encourage everybody to go to that link, check it out. Also, Liza, I shot a link for Sharman Ultra, which is the company that Liza works with for coaching. They have, how many coaches do you guys have now?
5. There are 5.
5 coaches, Ian Sharman being one of them. I think Ian has the record for top 10 finishes at Western States, if I'm not
the male record, I believe.
Male record. Liza, who is very modest, she's not going to toot her own horn, but Liza at one time held the fastest 100-mile record in the world. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so.
It was. I read that. It wasn't like Rocky Raccoon. I think it was.
I ran some fast flat races, but
Liza also won Leadville. Can we talk about Hope Pass? Can we talk about Leadville? Because I just want to. I ran Leadville, Daniel. Leadville is one of the major 100-mile races. It's got a lot of mystique around it. It is in Leadville, Colorado, which is it's like the highest city in, I think one of the highest cities in the country, I think.
Yep, highest incorporated city in the U.S.
Highest incorporated city in the U.S., Leadville, Colorado. And they run it was a mining town that went bankrupt years ago. And to help save the town, they started doing some of these events. They have a big mountain bike race there, and they do running camps, and they have a 100-mile race that has become wildly popular. And it's a very runnable course, but it's at such high altitude and the demand for it, but it's so beautiful. And, we went out a few years ago, and my wife and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And, I know, Liza, that place holds it's very near and dear to you. Do you wanna talk just briefly about Leadville and, what
Sure.
what that
I have
place
a
means
funny
to you?
story for you.
Mhm.
So I used to work for Outward Bound out of Leadville, and so I have a great fondness for that place. But so I One of the years that I was running it, I got my period during before right before the race, uh, and I was not pleased about that. And one of my buddies, my good friend, was crewing me, and he was like, "Liza, what do I need to do at the 50-mile station?" And I was like, "Tony, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm gonna need some feminine hygiene products." And he was like, he kind of paled a little bit, and he was like, "Okay." And uh, and so the race was going well, and I ran in to the aid station there, and I needed to move quickly to hold my position. And I was looking for Tony, trying to make some eye contact to get stuff that I needed. And there was this other guy standing around our crew station there, and he was like, "Hey, I got this for you." And he handed me a tampon, like he was handing me a baton at a
Uh-huh. Like, "Here you go, go do it."
and I was like, "Thanks, guy," because I didn't know who this fellow was. And I took it and went about my
Uh-huh.
business and continued on. So anyway, yeah. So because I was doing okay at the race at the time, some people were coming over because they knew that my crew was over there, Tony was over there, and they're like, "Hey, what can we do to help you?" And Tony totally shoved off that job. He was like, "Oh, here, you can give her this," to some random person. So
Mm.
that's my Leadville story for you.
I think a lot of hope yeah, Hope Pass. I know there's more difficult sections of different races. There are. I mean, our last guest, he just ran Hard Rock, and he talked about Kroger Canyon and all that stuff, but Hope Pass, just the sheer beauty and everything going up and then coming back over is just something that I don't think I'll ever forget. Like, it's and I think about it a lot, probably more than I should. I think about it more because I was unable to finish the race. I I pulled out at, like, mile 72 at half pipe, one of those aid stations. I c But I was able to make it over outbound and inbound, and just it was so wild because when I left Twin Lakes outbound, I think I was a couple hours ahead of the cutoff. I was feeling great, and I actually, like, on my way out, before I started the climb outbound on Hope Pass, I actually called a buddy because I had cell service. I was like, "Hey, just checking in. I'm feeling great," and everything, and that little 10-hour period from going out and then coming back was just the most I've never gone through anything like that in my life. Just seeing the beauty of it, but then how difficult it was, and I've never been punched in the face so hard in my life, and it was just but at the same time, I think about it, I'm like, "Man, I wanna go do that again." As crazy as that sounds, it was just, it was amazing, that little section going out and then coming back, and, I just think a lot if anybody can ever have a chance to experience that or at least just go out there for a hike, it's just unreal, and I can't encourage it enough, and I know Liza has been up and down that hill a bunch of times, and, it's just fantastic, so
It is. That 12,000 feet will get you, though.
it's crazy because, like, I was in such good shape. I had trained my ass off, and I couldn't go especially on coming back inbound. I couldn't go more than you're doing switchbacks, and each little switchback might be I don't know, 30 yards, maybe 30 or 40, 50 yards. And then I couldn't make it to one without having to stop for a couple minutes and just sit there. And then it was so daunting. Um, yeah, it was fantastic at the same time because you're just surrounded by just the most breathtaking views in the world, and it was awesome. So, and then coming back down, I had lost so much time. I was up against the cutoff, and coming back into Twin Lakes inbound, just the sheer, just all the crowd, people just screaming at you, um, was pretty wild. So, anyway, that's my Leadville experience, and anybody gets a chance to go out there, even if you're just out there on a vacation, I definitely encourage you to go check out, Hope Pass. Go park over there somewhere and then go hike up it if you can. So, um, Liza, do you have anything else in closing as we kind of start wrapping this up at all?
I guess just two things. Yeah, if anybody's interested in Band of Runners, please just go to bandofrunners.org, follow that link. But if you know anybody who might be at loose ends and could do with being embraced by the trail running community, surviving family members as well as veterans, please like share the Band of Runners link with them. Put them in contact with me. And the other thing is like, Matt, I'm so excited to be working with you right now. We're gonna have a good time.
That's cool.
And I'd like to apologize to Brooke publicly.
No, it's cool. Well, okay, so another thing, and Daniel, I think I might have shot this to you. So last episode I had John Brower on, and we talked extensively just about all these different races. Like he just did hard rock. It took him 12 years to get into this thing. And we talked about, all these races are so exclusive to get into and they're hard. But then again, you have the same people getting into them every year. And I kind of was bitching a little bit about I was number 7 on the wait list for Cocodona, which there's like 1,000 people on this wait list. And so I kind of made, anyway, we were kind of just joking about that, how the wait list isn't moving, but then again, the entrant list has been moving. Well, sure enough, a couple of days after we did that episode, I get an email inviting me to register for Cocodona. So I'm in. So I sent that to Liza. So now I'm officially in. I went ahead and paid. Yeah, I'm in. So now it's like, okay, at first I was like, well, I'm on the wait list. I'll go ahead and train like I'm going to be in it. But it's a little different when you actually get that email saying, okay, well, you were registered and we're taking your money.
Yeah.
And it ain't cheap. It's not cheap, which is a whole other story. These races can get expensive, but yeah, I'm excited too, Liza. We have a long ways to go. I think we're just about 7 months away. So, yeah,
Fly by.
yeah. Is it gonna fly by?
It is. Well, I mean, like the long training runs won't feel like it, but the time in general will definitely feel like it's flying by.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, but look, I'm feeling better. I'm starting to dial in some nutrition, and I went and got a food sensitivity test done, Daniel, as well. I went and did that. I got a blood panel done and got food sensitivity because as I get older, I'm dealing with inflammation and whatnot. And so I went and got a food sensitivity test and just to kind of see my body does not like gluten. I can eat it. I'm not going to freak out, but I think that's if I can kind of stay away from gluten as much as possible, that would be good. So I just need to eat cleaner, stop eating crap, and just focus on, especially as we get older. It's not just about pounding the pavement and putting in the miles. It's also about what we're putting in our bodies. Um, Also, it said that coffee is one of the things that I should only have every 72 hours.
I feel like that's one of those results you should ignore. I'm just kidding.
I'm not. I don't give a shit. I'm not. I'm sorry. I don't smoke.
Train
I
through
don't drink. I don't drink alcohol, and I don't do drugs.
We
Damn
all
it!
need some vices.
I'm drinking coffee. And also too, like Jackie, who's the nutritionist, she's like, I told her I use Splenda, and she's like, but I don't. That's another thing. That's a non-negotiable. So anyway, but yeah, I'll be working with Liza, really for the next whatever several months.
I'll be drinking my coffee.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was looking this week. I've got 4 miles on the treadmill at 15%. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're the one who signed up for this race, not me.
Oh yeah, love that. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Well, Liza, what do you got planned? Are you?
I am.
How are we doing? How's the foot?
Yeah, I guess I should put a plug for estrogen in for all you women
Uh-huh.
who are not in your 20s, maybe around perimenopause. If you're having problems with plantar fasciitis, talk with your physician about maybe trying some estrogen because it made mine go away. I've been dealing with plantar fasciitis since March to the point where I couldn't run. And I tried an estrogen patch, and 2 days later,
So are you going to be over in this direction? And
I am. I'm going to do Pinhoti. I haven't been able to,
look at there.
train hard, but I have accumulated enough miles that I feel like I will be able to finish this race, like knock on wood. And I've coveted that turkey footprint belt buckle for many years. So I'm pretty excited.
You're going to enjoy it. It's a fun race. It's a lot of single track. I think I want to say it's like 96
Yeah.
miles of just single track.
I'm so
So
excited to see it. Yeah.
it's a great race. You'll enjoy it, and I think you'll do well. And yeah.
If I finish, I will. I mean, that the goal is the finishing. So.
Well, they keep adding hours onto it. Now it's
So,
like a
I know. So I don't
well,
have.
when I did it, okay, so when I first met Liza, it was because I failed Pinhoti. I missed one of the aid stations by just a few minutes, and at that time, it was a 30-hour cutoff, which is an 18-minute mile, and I missed mile 75 cutoff by like 5 or 6 minutes, and so the next year, I dedicated the whole year to finishing that race, and so I got lined up with Liza, and we developed a plan over like 6 or 7 months, and I went back and did that race, and I finished it in like 26 hours. So we knocked off a substantial amount of time. But now they've added now it's 32 hours.
We
So
never would have met.
we
So we're
would.
not.
You know what? I was bitching about that whole 32 hours because I was like, man, that's not right. But then again, I think it was Peter Kazari, PK, was like, well, Matt, you wouldn't have gone through that experience if you
That's
hadn't
right.
failed. So I think we learn a lot in failures. Yeah, I wouldn't have met you, and
Right?
you know,
We would be talking right now.
I wouldn't be signed up like a dumbass for this 256-mile race.
You wouldn't have to get on the treadmill today at 15%.
Oh my god. Yep, that's it.
It's all Pinhoti's fault.
Yeah, it is. So,
Anyway.
all right. Well, look, as we kind of progress further along, I would like to bring you back maybe further on down the line. We can talk more specific about like different training ideas and whatnot and different stuff, and we'll catch up again in the next few months. But in the meantime, everyone, please go to Band of Runners. I put the link in the show notes. If you're thinking about getting a coach, I can't tell you enough. If you're thinking about it, go get one. I did put a link for Sharman Ultra. They have a list of coaches. They can find somebody that fits you. Yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I'll fill you guys more in about all the fun training stuff. And in the meantime, y'all please have good weeks out there. And Liza, we'll catch back up with you. Good luck at Pinhoti. And yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Matt.
All right.